everybody. Welcome to Business Over Beer podcast. I am Ben Surratt, and I am here with Grant Pauly at Sheeps Brewing. Welcome, Grant.
Hey, thanks for coming over.
Yeah, this is awesome. So, I know you got me a beer. I'm really thirsty, but before I get to the beer, I want to get to know who you are. So, tell me just high level who you are, where you're from, and what Three Sheeps is to the people who don't know.
Sure. Well, Grant Pauly, currently a founder and brewmaster at Sheeps Brewing. From Wisconsin originally. I grew up in Manitowoc, half an hour north of Sheboygan. Went down to Chicago for several years for college, came back up, and before this, poured concrete at a family business for about 5 years. Did that. Loved everything about small business. Did not like concrete. Wasn't quite for me. And then I had an awesome opportunity to take over an old brew pub in our town that went out of business, unfortunately for them. And we kind of went from there and rolled the dice.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to get into the struggles you had, the highs and lows of the business. But before I do, what am I drinking here?
So you are drinking Chaotic Coast. It is Fresh Coast and Chaos Pattern are two of our best sellers. For this one, we took the malt bill and yeast of Fresh Coast, and then we just did the Chaos Pattern hops on top of it.
Ooh.
So you kind of get a blend of those two. We did the other one, the reverse one, the other time, and they both turn out great. It's a great blend of hops for an easy drinking beer both ways. But yeah, it's fun to see what Chaos hops do to a lighter beer at 4.8%.
Wow. Ooh, that's delicious. Boy, that's a porch pounder.
100%.
Wow,
Yep.
That's really good. In Washington State for almost 20 years, and when I visited Three Sheeps for the first time, I think you guys just opened. It was out here. You had the bean bags or whatever, and I tasted some of the beer. I'm like, whoa, this represents. This is really, really good. So, kind of talk about the brewery, how it started, some of the things that you expected, didn't expect?
Well, early on, we got to start our brewery a little differently. When we first opened up, we didn't have a tap room. When we moved into that building, another group of siblings really wanted to have a family bar. So they bought the business, they bought the bar, and we found out that they were going to sell the equipment out of state. So it just kind of came in. I knew one of the owners through a friend, and just that afternoon we kind of walked the building, and we had a handshake agreement that day to operate a brew pub equipment out of a separate bar. So it was nice. They were a good customer of ours, but really we were only manufacturing for distribution. And I think it changed our focus a bit too, because by not having the tap room, we weren't making a new beer every day. We weren't doing umpteen things. Like, our goal was to just make sure we made great beer that was consistent year-round, and do it with 4 great styles. And then as those seasons changed, we would change things up. But it really kind of forced us for the first 4 years to just make sure that our beer was clean, consistent, and really drinkable. Because for us, we wanted to make sure that bar restaurant was able to turn that keg a couple times, make money for them, which helped us make more, sell more beer.
Sure.
And I think that focus it influenced what was important to us. Because early on, I definitely made mistakes. Some of our first brew was way too hoppy. It was what I liked, what we liked drinking internally. Did it make sense? No. So we just did one batch of it. Realized, okay, that was wrong. Let's focus now on making sure that these beers are drinkable and what Wisconsin drinks.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of led us, I think, to where our path as we went forward. We kept having some fumbles every once in a while. Where I really wanted to force a square peg into a round hole. Our first dark beer was a black wheat, which we loved. When you'd sample to people, they would really enjoy it. No one knew what a black wheat was, though, so it took a long time for people to really get into it and enjoy it, but it never really picked up like a stout would. And we realized we can still do everything we want in that beer style by getting that same effect at the end, but let's give people something that they're more used to so that they will get into it, and then let's show them how far we can push that.
Sure.
And that really became our wheelhouse as we kept growing. We started off with mainly ales. First, because we only had 3 fermenters to begin with, so we needed to ferment those things a little more quickly to keep up. But then once we moved in this space, where we were able to have umpteenth tanks, we had our full pilot system. We really were able to branch into a lot of lagers as well, and that kind of style and that ABV, that sort of thing, has become a wheelhouse for us. So our goal is to make every style well.
Yeah.
We don't want to focus on one. We want to be able to do the lagers, the hoppy beers, the ambers, which is still one of our best sellers, Rebel Kent, barrel aged, sours, Belgian beers. We want to we want to do it all because we enjoy it all, and
Yeah.
people here enjoy it all in Sheboygan, so we want to give them a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I love it. I think when I moved back here, it was a little bit different. I mean, I love the hoppy beers. I am all about it. But when I first moved out to Washington State, I was not about the IPAs. I was like, who put grass in this beer? Like, what is going on? So but I learned like you have to almost train the palate and kind of even your customers, you're kind of training them to kind of experiment more, and you're getting the different notes. Like, this is perfect. Like, I think this is fantastic. You get the hops in the nose right away, but then you get the bitter of the hops doesn't stay.
Right.
Like, it's gone right away.
And yeah, it's a very important thing for us. We have something internally we call 3-pint drinkability. Our goal with anything that's going to be a year-round or seasonal beer, or something we want people to be able to enjoy, you have to be able to drink 3 pints of it in a row without getting overwhelmed by one thing or the other. Because if you do, then it doesn't kind of fit into that portfolio. We still have the other beers, the crazy sours, the big hoppies, the barrel-aged beers. You shouldn't drink 3 of some of those. But for that, yeah, you need the flavors have to be balanced all the way through, so you're enjoying that first sip as much as the last sip.
Yeah. So what was when did this place actually open, this brewery that we're at right now?
So we opened our first brewery 12 years ago, and then it was about 7 years ago that we finally had everything up and running here. Taproom opened first, which we were excited to do because then we had a taproom, and then we worked on building the production side, and that took another about 6 months to get that underway.
What did the community think when you first opened? Was it pretty much, oh, I'm going to check this place out, or did you already have a community already built, and then you open it up?
It was interesting. By not having our own taproom, a lot of people still didn't know we were in Sheboygan. They're drinking Three Sheeps because you didn't have that space. You're not really looking at labels to see where this thing made. So once we opened the tap room, it really kind of folded us into the community, and a lot of people right away came out. They were so excited to have another brewery in town. We had it's a nice big open space. It's we wanted to go for that West Coast feel. You have that warehouse where you get to enjoy the big garage doors open in the summertime, trains rolling by. We were pretty fortunate to lock down this location, but yeah, it really opened up a lot of things for us because now we really we got to plant our flag that we are here in Sheboygan. We're not going anywhere. We're not leaving Sheboygan. This is where we want to make beer for a long time to come. And then it also helped us to kind of get back to the community that already helped us out.
That was my next question. So how do you give back to the community?
We host a lot of fundraisers here. We have a form on our website for donations if you're having raffles or things like that at your operation. We approve. I approve. I love doing that part, so I still get to hold on to that one. But it's dozens a week where we're getting baskets out, things like that, to anyone who has a great cause out there. And then we do fundraisers a lot of Sundays here, where they can be massive, and groups can come in, and if they do it well, they can raise $10,000 to $20,000.
Wow!
I think our biggest one. It was thanks to a match by someone else, but they ended up taking home $52,000.
Holy cow!
On a Sunday fundraiser, and it's not us; it's the community. Everyone loves coming out to support each other. So we have a venue that thankfully it's large. We can get a lot of people in here. So if they do a great job, we work with them on it. But we put together these great events. People come out and support it. So it's a really nice thing. We really wanted this place to be a community center for our community. It's funny, if you look around or you're in our tap room, you see all this wood that's out there, all these bleacher boards. They all came from a building in Sheboygan that used to be that. It was our old armory, where we had a professional basketball team there. Bob Hope played there in the past.
No way.
It was a really cool center in Sheboygan that it was just people gathered there. And that place, it's torn down now. It was a tough old building for people to go to. So we reached out to the city saying, hey, here's what we're doing. Could we procure some of the wood? So it's become a big part of our tap room. We're very excited to bring what was Sheboygan's kind of center to here and kind of keep that going. You can still find gum under a lot of the benches that was there from the armory days. We couldn't peel it off. We just had to leave it. Part of history.
That's awesome. That might be a beer later. Gum under the table IPA or whatever. So I'm a business owner. A lot of our listeners are business owners. And as a business owner, you find out that things don't necessarily go the way you do. So the way you want. So what's one thing or a number of things that you were a hurdle that you overcame that you didn't necessarily think of?
The biggest one that comes to mind for me is the importance of branding. When we started out 12 years ago, we were brewery number 69 in Wisconsin. There weren't a whole lot of us, and especially the old breweries who had been around for a long time, making nice beer. You could make great beer, and people would support you because there were only so many. Wisconsin loves supporting Wisconsin. But as things shifted and there were more and more breweries and more options and more East and West Coast breweries selling in our state, and their beer was also phenomenal coming in. I didn't put enough emphasis on how important it was to make sure that we had good branding, but also then what that branding was. So we went through 3 iterations of branding in the first 5 years of just trying to figure it out, and then finally, about when we opened up this place, we realized we just got to start fresh, and where we were trying to tell a story or just make it really easy. Like here, for a while, we just had a big IPA on there or amber. We realized that wasn't as important as make sure that people understood who we were and what the beer meant to us. And that's the story that people enjoy. Beer's romantic. People really want to enjoy what they're drinking and have that connection. And so we started and just went from our logo down and changed everything and just made sure that it was true to who we are today.
Yeah.
Because also who we are today with this new space and what we were doing was very different than who we are when we first started out, wondering, what are we going to become?
Yeah.
We didn't know at that point.
Yeah. I mean, branding is something that a lot of business owners struggle with, I think, because they think it's just a logo and that's it.
And it's expensive to do it right.
Very.
And it's hard to, it's one of those things where you can't necessarily say, here, it's going to be a 2-year ROI.
Yeah.
It's you have to, it's a leap of faith to say, I'm going to spend this money knowing that this is what we need to do in order to get here, and then do everything else with it along the way. So that was, I think that was the biggest lesson for me in coming to terms with that and how important it was. And also it lets us just connect better. I mean, when it comes to social media, when it comes to getting on the community, when it comes to doing events, it's all tied together. It's making sure that your voice is authentic. Mm-hmm. And that, at the end of the day, I think it carries a lot of weight with people who enjoy craft beer.
Yep, that's huge, man. You're authentic. Like, being authentic in your message is huge. And I think that for me, one of the biggest hurdles when I was first starting out in the business is not understanding what my story was, and being able to relay that to the community, and being able to relay that to the customers that I want to serve. So how did you come up with your story? Was that intentional, or was it just all kind of happenstance, like one thing fell off after another?
We had help, I think is the best way to put it. Mm-hmm. We, a buddy of mine, at the same time when we were moving into the space, started a beer branding company. They only do beer branding. And I worked with him. He worked for a distributor in Illinois for a long time, and he knew me really well. He knew our brand really well. So it was really nice to get to work with someone who understood what beer branding could be or should be, and how to make it authentic to me, because I was terrible. He's like, Grant, what do you think about this? And I would just verbal garbage. Like, here's what I'm thinking. He's like, let me sink that into 7 words. I'm like, yep, that's exactly what I meant. And that really helped us kind of navigate that side of it. But so that was one big piece. But then also, I think a lot of times people will try to do something because they think it's right versus being really what they think they should think that it's right versus what they really think it's right. Yeah. And when we started leading to the community, we were doing these fundraisers monthly. We always, for charities and whatnot. And you come into our tap room now, and it's been like this for a long time. You buy a pint of a certain beer, and it goes to this group, and that's how we kind of started things up. And no one really talked about it or thought about it. That we started doing fundraisers, and we were having to pull more than pull people in to try to help. We want to support you. We want to support you. Yep. And I think now it's just kind of understood, like, this isn't something we're doing just for advertising. Like, this is something that's really important to us. Yeah. And that just takes time to be consistent with and get across that. Now people know that they can lean on us to have an event or do something with us, and we don't want to just say, well, here's a door prize. But kind of like, let's figure out how to do it well together. Let's come together. If you're going to do an event here, here's what we see works. Let's make sure that this is successful for you, because we want you to be successful and make as much as you can for this cause. And I think that carries through to all sorts of elements. Figuring out how we want to talk about our beer and be very precise, and this is what Fresh Ghost is, and here's why it's meaningful, and we try to have that for all of our core beers and our seasonals, and carry that through. Our sales team does a phenomenal job. I was just at a trade show with a couple of them, and I hadn't been to one in a while because at this point I'm primarily a desk jockey, and went out and realized, like, I had forgotten how to tell my story on a couple of these beers, and they were still saying verbatim exactly what we had been saying for years, and just doing it so well And it was a cool reminder of like, all right, we are consistent across the board.
Yeah. What you talk about community, but a beer community has its own culture too. What was the reception of you with other breweries and other brewers? Did they help you? Like, what was that relationship like, and how is it today?
So when we were opening, everyone was so generous with help that I was starting to feel guilty, because like there's got to be where's the other shoe? I think Anello from Central Waters, a great brewery, we've been friends with them for over 10 years now, put it best in saying, we are all trying to get we're trying to get someone to stop drinking the macros or, wine or spirits. We want people to drink beer. So we got to make sure that that first beer they have is great, whoever's it is, because eventually no one just drinks one craft beer. We'll all benefit from it. And that's important for our industry, because again, craft beer, you want to try stuff. You're out there exploring. So that mentality carried through. I mean, we had an old canning line or bottling labeler from the 1940s. This thing was cast iron. It was a mess. Called up Central Waters, and he's like, yeah, here, why don't you talk to my maintenance tech? Maintenance tech got on the phone, chatted with me for an hour and a half, and then sent me their full preventive maintenance plan.
Wow.
And everything. And I called up Anello afterwards, like, hey, I just want to know, like, he sent me this. Are you sure you're okay? He's like, oh yeah, I told him to. Don't worry about it. Just, good luck. And,
Wow.
And and we have so many stories like that, because it is still very collective community on just making sure we're all helping each other out and doing well. Now as we get bigger and there's more breweries and there's less shelf space, I think there's a difference on the production side necessarily versus the sales side, where so we're still friendly, and then there's times where we naturally will butt heads.
Yeah.
But overall, it's still a really, really cool community. I think too in Wisconsin we don't have a whole lot of like crazy investment companies coming in or things like that. A lot of breweries are still owned by the individuals who started, who are passionate about what they're doing, and I think that's a big key to it.
Sure.
While yes, we all need to make money, the ROI isn't tied to like a 3-year payback like it happens when you start getting into those third parties who are coming in. It's still like we want to do this for the long term, and what's the best way, and what's the nicest way just to do it while we're all doing it together.
Yeah. I mean, I think that what I've noticed, at least being back in Wisconsin, is there's been a lot more breweries pop up. Grew up here. I mean, I don't remember. It was Milwaukee. It was Lakefront, Sprecher, like for years.
Right. I mean, across the country, beer has gotten so much more interesting.
Yeah.
For one, and people are really engaged in what's going on. The people really care about like what ingredients are being used. How I guess how unique can this one beer be, and people look for that and seek that out, and I think that's given a lot of opportunity to especially smaller breweries starting up, because for a smaller brewery opening up right now trying to sell a $9 6-pack, it's really hard to do that right off the get-go. But if you can come out and you can be doing these $18 4-packs and a little higher price point on your pints and snifters and things like that, it makes it a lot easier to get into it, and also that you can get more kind of hype and energy, I think, around your brand than by coming out, say, with an amber, IPA, and a wheat beer like we did 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think that there's more opportunity to come out and start something up. Also, I think there are more people that are interested in craft beer now than there were 12 years ago in Wisconsin.
Yeah, for sure.
When we launched Water Slides, people thought it was too hoppy. And now people think that beer is too caramely. So it's have those spectrums.
Wow.
Like just watching people change in how they appreciate what beer is and what it can be is really really exciting. The beers we're making today, we couldn't have sold 12 years ago.
Wow.
Like there's just it's such a different world. And we're really enjoying being part of that.
Yeah, I mean, you're like I said from the beginning, it's like you're training the palate of your customer and teaching them, and it's not all lagers. It's not all pilsners. I mean, there's a place for them, but there's a place for IPAs. There's a place for ambers. There's a place for barley wines. There's a place for everything. So, with that being said, where do you see the future of not just Three Sheeps, but the brewing business locally in the Sheboygan County area, or Wisconsin? You can take Wisconsin.
Yeah. All right. Wisconsin. One trend I'm really enjoying seeing right now is people are really loving drinking lower ABV beers. Yeah, I think this is kind of getting in with the the Gen Z non-drinker sort of thing. Like beer is a side thing of what you're up to. You want to enjoy it. but you still want to be able to function nicely and perform and everything else afterwards. So I think that has been something we've gotten excited about, because it's also, after we're done brewing for the day, our shift beer, you want something like that, something easy
Sure.
drinking, crushable sort of thing.
Yep.
And I think that trend is going to stick around for a while. I think we'll be seeing lager. I mean, we probably have 5 or 6 lagers on at any one time from all over the world, different styles, and it's just people love drinking them. And,
Yeah.
I don't think 2 years ago even that would have been as exciting. I mean, our Pilsner we've had out for 5 years now, and really, and it's always done fine for us. But this past year and a half, you start to see more and more of it going off the shelves, and people just looking for that good, easy drinking, clean beer.
Yeah.
That's a trend I really like, because I think that also lends to a maturity in the drinker and our industry as well, because it's kind of establishing that while I love drinking a big double IPA hazy thing, I still go back to then having something I can drink several of that's lighter and easier and but still has a lot of flavor to it. And I think it's kind of a more mature palate necessarily, like someone who appreciates, you don't need to be knocked over the face with something. You can still get a lot of joy and pleasure out of something that's in there. So yeah, I think it's opening up towards not an either or anymore. We're seeing people walk out with that crazy 4-pack and also a 12-pack of Fresh Coast or our Wisco pack or something like that.
Yeah.
You want the both worlds.
That's awesome. I know you're opening soon, but just real quick, and if people are visiting from outside of the area, what's one beer of yours that they have to try?
Well, I would say right now I'm very hot on our Wisconsinitis.
Okay.
It's a cream ale we launched back in February. So at this point, it's only been out for about 9 months. It's already become our number 3 seller. And if you would have asked me 5 years ago,
A cream ale.
Hey Grant, you gonna ever make a cream ale in our year-round lineup? I'd say there's no way I'm putting a cream ale in our year-round. But for us, it was fun. Last year we were looking at our lineup and saying, okay, what are we missing? What don't we have that Wisconsin drinks? And we realized we went from our Pilsner to our Amber. So for those who a light Pilsner as a drinker, but then you go to an Amber, it's a pretty heavy beer in the middle there. So trying to find something that is still easy drinking but has a lot of flavor to it is something you can really get a lot of pleasure out of. Realized like we were missing this, and we tried a lot of things and came up with the cream ale, and it's been really fun to see how that's taken off, and just gives us another group that we get to share our beer with, and just lets us have another beer that's appropriate for every occasion.
That's awesome. Okay, so Wisconsinitis. Love it. Okay, so where can people find you if they're out of town and they're visiting? Where are you located?
We are in just about every grocery store.
Nice.
In there. So yeah, we've had a really good run. A lot of great distribution. So yeah, if you want to get more particular, we have a sheet finder on our website. You can type in your zip code or city, and it'll pull up within a 15-mile radius. You can set the distance where you can find 3 Sheeps currently.
That's
for
cool.
Bars and restaurants, and also for liquor stores and grocery stores.
Oh, that is really nice.
It's nice. Yeah, technologies.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Grant, thank you so much.
Oh,
I truly
thank
appreciate you. And I know we've been trying to do this for a while. I truly, truly, truly appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, and we'll have to do this again sometime. And let's get, maybe do an event here. That would be kind of cool. Like, I could see people here. They can ask questions too. That would be kind of cool, like an Ask a Brewer type
and I like
thing.
how you're asking me while we're still on camera. That sounds great. No, I would love to. I think those are always fun.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much, everybody. We will see you all next time.
Cheers.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, of course. That's